Can we stop wondering if our dehydrated starter is finally ready? Hi, I'm Annette, micro baker in Chicago and owner of Dough My Goodness Bakery, and I'm here to help you simplify sourdough. Day 4 today of reactivating Jane Doe, our dehydrated sourdough starter. We're going to check on her and feed her same time as yesterday's feed. Feeding at a consistent time each day allows the starter to peak, and that's the best time to either feed it or use it, because that's when the yeast populations are at their highest. Quick disclosure before we look at her, I'm actually filming this demo in the evening after feeding yesterday morning. So what you're seeing here in the jar isn't peak, but I know that she did peak because of the lines on the jar. I'll show you. So this is evidence that she doubled, maybe even tripled, and then fell back down. But do as I say, not as I do. And you can still see that there's plenty of bubble activity. She's very active in there. But if you're following my instructions and feeding in the morning, you should see her at a nice impressive peak. And with this one more feed, she should be ready to bake with. So today is her first feed, my high ratio stiff sourdough feed, the big girl feed, 1:25:15. Let's go. Clean jar for every feed, tare your scale. You know the drill. We're gonna give her a nice stir. We're gonna put 1 gram of this into the new jar. Some scales aren't sensitive enough to measure 1 gram, so that's totally fine to eyeball it here. The scale does not need to read 1 gram, because sometimes people keep adding and then it jumps to 2 or 3 grams. It's okay to just feed the tiniest bit of carryover. Trust me when I say there are millions of yeast and bacteria microbes in the tiniest bit of starter. And I know that it's scary for many of you to use such a little amount, but trust me, I wouldn't steer you wrong here. Keeping too much starter increases the odds that you're going to underfeed her. And that is the reason why most starters that fail, because they are underfed. So what we have in the jar is plenty. No matter what the scale says, trust your eyeball. Zero out your scale. 15 grams of water. Stir. I'm going to dissolve the starter into the water. Zero out your scale. And feed 25 grams of flour. Stir. So don't be afraid to use so little that your starter won't be able to grow. You just need a little bit of the live culture and a lot of food for it. She's a big, strong girl. She can handle it. We're going to stir her up well, and it's going to be very thick. That is what we like. We like her thick. And I take it out, mix by hand. We're looking for the consistency of Play-Doh. It's going to be a little bit tacky, but it shouldn't be sticky. So if it is sticky, you can roll it in a little bit more flour. A stiff starter has a higher chance of being more balanced and sustainable moving forward. Liquid starters are a little bit of a modern phenomenon. If you want to dig into the science behind all of that, check out my starter playlist called Understanding Your Starter. It'll give you some really good information. And the reason for the playlist is pretty self-explanatory. It's in the title. Quick note, if you're feeding in the morning and you want to feed in the evening moving forward, you can push your feed later than 24 hours to space it out a little bit more, but I don't recommend jumping forward 12 hours on the first jump. I recommend to shift it gradually over the course of a few days instead of just all at once. It's really important to pick a time of day that is convenient for you and that you're more likely to remember it moving forward. I always do mine at night, which is why I forgot to film this video in the morning. I feed mine at night because I connect my starter feeding to brushing my teeth before I go to bed. Both take about the same amount of time. I will not go to bed without brushing my teeth. So it helps me to remember to pair those two activities together. There you go, folks. Jane Doe, rehydrated to ready to bake with in 4 days. 5 if you count having to wait till tomorrow to build your levain, which I have a video on exactly how to do that. It is the last video in my Understanding Your Starter playlist. And if you're looking to get started on your sourdough journey, I sell Jane Doe on my website, doughmygoodnessbakery.com. Time to say goodnight to my Jane. You can name your Jane whatever you want. Happy baking.